All right, Israeli leader Bibi Netanyahu there with harsh words over the ICC's actions today. The warrant marked the first time that a sitting leader of a major Western ally has been accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity by a global court of justice. Of course, the United States is not party to the treaty that formed the court there. But we want to talk about this even further with our friend at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, David Daoud. He joins me. David, good to see you here. I wanted to ask, Mohammed Deif, the former top Hamas military leader, was included in these arrest warrants. For all we know, and we've reported this, and Israel has said as much, Israel killed him. How can you issue an arrest warrant for someone who's dead?
I don't know. Ask the ICC. Thank you for having me on, Andrew. Yes, you're right. He is dead, and it's not just the Israelis that have confirmed that he's dead. I think Hamas officials also to the London-based Arabic language newspaper Sharq al-Awsat also confirmed his death. I think it underscores the farce that is this decision. I mean, look, Hamas came out and celebrated this decision, even though it's supposed to ostensibly target the organization itself. Hamas realizes it's not going to affect its activities or affect its organizational structure. This is a decision that is being weaponizing international law against democracy, which will be constrained by it. By contrast, Hamas will have no impact, will receive no impact from this decision. So they realize decisions like this will constrain the hands of democracies to act against rogue actors like Hamas and thus give such organizations more freedom of action.
So, David, though, now that Netanyahu has this warrant hanging over his head, isn't his freedom of travel limited? From what I understand, any country that's party to the treaty, the Rome Treaty that formed the ICC, if Netanyahu stepped foot in any of those countries, he could be arrested.
You're right. And already Canada, Prime Minister Trudeau has said that Canada intends to enforce the ICC's warrants against Prime Minister Netanyahu. So this underscores, again, I think, the miscarriage of justice that happened today, because you have the democratically elected leader of a law-abiding country where the judiciary is independent, where the ICC has no jurisdiction, now as an international arrest warrant out for him. And law-abiding countries like Canada will be forced to enforce it. And meanwhile, the perpetrators of actual war crimes like Hamas, rogue actors like Hamas, will simply feel no effect of this decision.
David, it's being alleged in the warrants that Bibi Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant are starving Gazans on purpose, using starvation as a weapon of war, and directing attacks against civilians. Now, you heard there in Netanyahu's monologue of all the instances, not all, maybe several though, of how they're not doing that. Can you elucidate that a little further?
The Israel Defense Forces is the Israel Defense Forces is a law-abiding army. It is an army where there's a concept of toar neshek. Myself, I'm a former IDF veteran, and the concept of toar neshek, purity of arms, means that you do not use your arms to harm civilians or their property without justified cause, meaning unless you're targeting a terrorist or an enemy combatant and you only incidentally cause harm to civilians. The Israeli military abides by strict laws of engagement. Scholars like John Spencer, if I'm not mistaken, have looked into this. You have uniquely among militaries the civilian judiciary intervening sometimes before Israeli military actions are conducted into those military actions to make sure that they abide by international law and laws are in conflict. You have a robust military advocate general system in the IDF that pre-approves all of these military actions conducted by the IDF. And ensures that they're abiding by international law. On the ground, look, are war crimes going to occur? Of course, it's a war, but that can't be judged by A, the perspective of hindsight, and B, without a proper investigation into these crimes, which there hasn't been an opportunity to conduct that investigation, and the ICC itself has not conducted a proper investigation into these claims. In fact, Karim Khan was supposed to make a fact-finding visit to Israel which he canceled on May 20th, the same day that he issued his request for the arrest warrants.
Yeah.
So there's been no proper investigation into these allegations.
You know, you're in Washington, David. We have a live picture there at the U.S. Capitol. This is what Senate Minority Leader McConnell said today, that this is damning, not for Israel, but for the impotent sham court flaunting its lack of moral clarity as a badge of honor. So the United States, David, is not party, like I said, to the treaty that formed the ICC there. Though this has been held up, I believe, at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, what to do about punishing the ICC for this action in the form of levying some type of sanction here. How can the United States levy any punitive measure against the court if they're not party to the court? And what would that look like? Because now that there is unified government, Republicans will control both the House and the Senate. From what I'm told and from what we're hearing, this effort will pick up steam.
Well, let's start with why the court's decision is illegitimate and then get into what the United States can do and why, the implications for the United States. The ICC's arrest warrants are illegitimate for two reasons. The first is a lack of jurisdiction, right? Israel is not a member of the court, and Palestine is, but Palestine isn't a state. Palestine lacks the requisite indicia of statehood, namely a definite territory, a definite population, an independent government, right? The Palestinian Authority is not an independent government. It's an autonomous entity that operates at Israel's generosity, if you will. And it lacks the ability, per the Oslo Accords, which created the Palestinian Authority, to engage in or create relations with foreign countries. That's the fourth indicator of statehood. Palestine lacks all of these. The second part of why this fails is the concept of complementarity. This means that if a country is possessed of an independent and robust judiciary like Israel, and that judiciary has investigated or will investigate these crimes or prosecute them if they are found to have foundation, then the ICC has no room to intervene. Now, Israel hasn't conducted an inquiry yet, but if I'm not mistaken, Article 17 of the Rome Statute says that there has to be adequate time for this to occur. There hasn't been adequate time. So this means that the court violated its own statute to go after Israel. Now, what does this mean for the United States? This obviously has implications for a country like the United States. And our domestic law passed, if I'm not mistaken, in 2005. We have domestic laws that allow the United States to intervene to protect against the arrest of U.S. troops abroad or U.S. personnel abroad and those of our allies. So our domestic law empowers us to act against the ICC's overreach of its jurisdiction.
All right, David, we'll leave it at that. Always good to see you, and we'll chat soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.